And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
So low. Yeah? No?
I'm here for it.
Okay. I mean, come right in. Sit right down.
I'm sitting.
Mikey's gonna show you the moon.
I don't think that's really a moon.
That's no moon.
What is it?
It's my fat ass.
Oh,
because
shit.
I got low apple bottom. Jeans don't exist in Star Wars because there's no buttons. That's okay. We're here to anyway. I don't know what I'm going to say. I mean, you're here.
I was here
we're with it. I'm here. You're here. You're with us. You're listening to Annie. Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast where me and Matt take you through the wonderful galaxy you know and love far, far away.
The Qui-Gon Mitchell and Stormtrooper Dejeen of the Star Wars scene, baby.
It's true.
You pick who's who. Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird. Do you think that they have shoehorned us into the white and black roles?
That would be making it weird.
That's a little fucked up. Maybe I'm Qui-Gon Mitchell.
Maybe.
I am.
Little fun fact, and you can keep this on here because I know it'll excite you. I got my Kelly Green Cooper DeJean Eagles jersey.
Oh, we can match now.
We can match now.
I'm so excited. Then next year we got to do white Quinyon Mitchells. I think that's.
I'm down. I'm with it. What are the midnights? The midnight blacks. Quinyon Mitchells.
Yeah.
I'm with it. Sign me.
Anyways,
up,
enough of our Eagles fandom. We are a based podcast, but go Birds, obligatorily. But yeah, we are here to talk Skeleton Crew season finale. Met with a lot of positive response from the people who are viewing it. A little bit of critical response from myself and Matthew here, but yeah, a tad. We're gonna dive in. I do have a 10-second recap for you, Matt. Do you have a timer available, perhaps?
I don't know why I'd be surprised. You know, I'm so used to it being a D4L.
I know, and then we steal your good ideas sometimes.
I'm here. All right, 10 seconds on the clock. Are you ready?
I am ready as I'll ever be.
2, 1, engage.
Jod tricks the parents and sends them home. The supervisor is a droid. The supervisor is dead. The power is out, and the kids can tell the truth. KB women kneel to the rescue. Pirates, X-Wings, explosions. Oh my! The end.
9 seconds. 0.11. You had time to spare. Good bud. You're getting.
Is that a 9/11 joke you just made?
This, funnily enough, this actually is what you stopped on. So
destiny.
It's like you landed the plane.
Count them not one, but 2 towers. And a Pentagon, and a ditch up in Pennsylvania.
Great job landing the plane on hitting that 10 seconds, bro. Hit it hard, hit it fast.
Well, if we haven't alienated the entire audience with that joke, then I'll move on. But if you're still with us,
it's America. It's America. They're fine.
America.
It's fine. DJ Jibs.
We're burning down to the ground as it is, baby. All right. So yeah, let's talk all about it, Matt. The Skeleton Crew, episode 8. It's the season finale, the real good guys, as it is aptly titled. If you have been following along this journey, it is. If you've been following along on our journey, you would know that we have restructured how we talk about episodes that we are recapping, reacting, and whatever to, with a segment called The Good, The Bad, and The Ugnaught.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
I have spoken.
Yes. I forgot the whistle doesn't come up. Wow, wow, wow. That's so.
I really wish I could press the sounder.
That's so interesting that whistles don't get picked up on microphones. I wonder what.
My goodness! I just realized that you were saying my whistle wasn't being picked up, and now I'm sad.
I wonder what the technical reason behind that is. It's quite a.
It's got to be some sort of high pitch.
Must be
blocker detector. But anyways, a segment on Annie, Are You Okay? Where we discuss something we liked, something we didn't, and something random that caught our eye. I'm sure we'll have plenty to go through. And Matt, just so that I'm not going to bury the lead on you, but our big discussion topic is going to be fan reception versus our reception. So you feel free to pick a good, pick a bad, pick an Ugnaught, and then we'll go and dive deeper into some of our other. I know that you have gripes. I've got a handful of gripes, but just pick one. And then we'll go from there.
That's fine. We'll go good. We always lead with love. The episode was fun. That's my good.
Yes,
I had a lot of fun in this episode. Matter of fact, I'll hone in my fun even more. I loved Wim's dad this whole episode.
That's growth, because you hated Wim's dad at the beginning of this.
Full circle moment, baby.
Yeah.
Yes, I enjoyed when they jumped over the canyon and he's like, "Oh, did you see that?" Like,
that was a great moment.
When they needed to go to the main tower and he was just like, "Get on!" Like he was like gung ho to separate and like go do the thing, trying to fight Jod and everything. Just Wim's dad was the real MVP for me for this whole
okay,
episode.
But how did you feel about the really corny thing at the end where he's like, wham, wham, wham?
Yeah, no, how it ended, that's my bad, actually. Perfect lob off the backboard there, buddy. I fucking hated how this episode ended, yo. Like, especially for a show that we are under the assumption that the characters might show up again, but it's not going to get a season 2. There's no point. Like the show doesn't need.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
it's actually one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to be really pissed off if this gets a season 2, but Acolyte doesn't.
Yeah,
and I know that Acolyte is pretty much all but confirmed not to get a season 2.
Total aside, but fairly relevant. Amanda Sterling just got announced in a cast for it's a Harry Potter-esque type magical book. I will get the information and maybe we'll put it in the description below. But it's a series. It's a 3-book series, and she just got cast as like a pretty important character. So I would imagine she's going to be tied up doing that for the next several years. So I feel like that's just more of a confirmation that Acolyte's not coming back.
Right.
She took
like
that job
closed
on.
The door. She closed the door on that. On that for us.
Eggs Blackley. But yes, my Ugnaught. Damn, that's tough. I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what? I would no. The owl lady did. I mean, I thought, I'll say this. I felt as if the owl lady, I'm terrible on names. Like, I do like how they reminded you that she was like, "Oh, if you ever need me, call me." I thought that she was going to have like a bit more to do. Like, I thought she was going to be a bit more involved with helping. So that was I wouldn't necessarily say it was a pleasant surprise, but it was something that did surprise me that it was limited just to them sending out
her being on a hologram and sending the Republic,
making the phone call for them. That was something that's so. Matter of fact, I'll lay the groundwork for our larger topic. My Ugnaught would be several choices that they made caught me completely off guard. So I'll say that's fair. Yeah. And again, I won't say it's a pleasant or unpleasant surprise, but I feel like there is always a sense of joy when you're caught completely off guard, especially for people who I feel like not only are we, gigantic fans of Star Wars, but I would consider us to be in the higher percentile of people who understand how entertainment is made, like how TV shows are made. Sure. So when I'm caught off guard, it's always just like, oh shit, they got me. So I'll say that there were several choices. Some I liked, some I drastically didn't like, but still, nonetheless, I was very, very surprised at many choices that they made in the show. So
Yeah, and we'll dive deep into that. I want to hit my good, my bad, and my Ugnaught real quick before we kind of like dive further into it. My biggest, I think the good really for me, and honestly on rewatch, this kind of like solidified it for me, but they fit a lot into this finale episode.
They really did.
Like they truly made the most of their runtime here. I didn't feel like they cut corners from a like production standpoint. It didn't feel like scenes were rushed. They gave things their proper moment, but they did. It was very fast paced. They cut to different things. You had a lot going on, but the emotional beats still kind of hit really hard. KB crashing was a really, I don't want to call it like a set piece, but it was a nice.
She was still alive
for sure. and I know like that obviously gonna happen, but you let the like let's just put ourselves in the shoes of like a 10-year-old watching who might not know, right? That like obviously they're gonna be okay. They did a really good job, I think, of like letting that scene take as much time as it needed, and the score has been fantastic the entire show, but they did a really good job of mixing some things up and adding like a heightened pace, I think, to some of the like themes they've been peppering through the series as a whole. So that was just really great to see. My bad is something that I think it's really sad how I almost feel like all those haters from the Acolyte who are like, Kiadi Mundi wouldn't be alive at this time by making this take, but like it's something that just really feels like the story group dropped the ball on this one. And it was the fact that At-Aten was still in contact with the Republic during like the prequel trilogy, and not that they had ceased communications with the Republic from like way further back. And the reason I say that is because like, do you really expect me to believe that Palpatine, who was like a Sith mastermind and was pulling all these strings, just like forgot about At-Aten and didn't know how to get there or get to the planet or become a Republic emissary and all that stuff?
That's right. I didn't.
It just really took me out of like, from like a lore standpoint, that did not make sense to me. And it really affected the narrative for me. And I know that that's like a very small thing.
I don't think that's small at all. I think that's
it's a small thing in the grand scheme of this story.
Right. I got you.
But in the overarching like lore of the galaxy,
the glaring plot hole.
Right. And this isn't me being upset about like something in Legends getting overwritten. I'm legitimately upset that even in the canon that Disney has established, which obviously, you know, George Lucas's like 6 films are a big part of that, wasn't like, I guess like, I don't know, it just doesn't line up. It takes away from Palpatine being more of like this like smart, conniving, like really strong mastermind villain that we like expect him to know. And at the same time, it's like, don't get me wrong, like I get it, they switched to like Imperial credits really fast, but it's like, why would he not just repurpose the mint on At-Aten to be an Imperial mint instead?
Oh yeah, I was just about to say, could you help? So you had kind of negated my question before I asked it, but I was going to say, like, could you just say that, you know, like through his tyrannical rule, he was just like, hey, like, yeah, we'll use money to like fund the shit, like just basically just still keep it up and running, like funnel the money for his projects. But like you said, they switched to Imperial credits, so it's like that kind of snuffs that theory out. But I didn't even realize that like that is something. But that is a glaring plot hole. Like if they were in contact with the Republic pre the first fall, because there's so many, they just can't keep their shit together. Like that wouldn't be, especially like with our Bushi turning into an evil dictator. Like there's no way that they still would have been all cul-de-sac-y and operational cul-de-sac.
I mean, and it's also like in tandem, and I'm always doing this because I'm crazy and I do really love this franchise. I'm constantly rewatching some of the other shows. I happen to just, you know, finish Rebels again, and you know, like there's no stone unturned by Palpatine if something can serve him better. And I just don't see him being like, At-Aten is resources I don't need.
Yeah, it's
that free, man is selfish. Money. He wants exactly. He wants everything. He wants the power. And the only, you know what? There is probably a way where they can write around it where there's a reason why Palpatine didn't want AT-AT. But until that story is told, like, I'm going to always view that as a glaring plot hole in this story. At the same time, that's not the main point of this story, right? Like, this plot hole is not necessarily something that is going to destroy how I view the rest of the stuff. If anything, Skeleton Crew is a fun little cliff note on my Star Wars journey. I didn't happen to love it as much as some other people did, although I'm incredibly happy that there's tons of people who did love it, and that's what we're going to kind of talk to in our bigger discussion. But at the same time, let me get to my Ugnaught real quick. I thought it was really weird that they essentially, like, when you know what? No, it's not. I'm changing my my weird from Jaleel White going down with the ship to, I just think it's crazy that after all of this time, it almost feels like the show could be rebranded as like one of those crazy long anime titles, or is like that time me and my 3 friends accidentally subjected AT-AT to to a terrible galaxy instead of protecting ourselves.
to a scourge, to an invasion.
Essentially, like, it's just wild because it's like don't get me wrong, like, the good guys showed up and they like saved the day and everything, and you know, I'm sure AT-AT will get absorbed into the New Republic, and we'll see how, like, the, you know, Wim, KB, Neil, and Fern all factor into things, if at all, and I'm sure Jod will factor into things, but it's just weird to me that that, like, you know, they were safe and all protected, and like these 4 kids accidentally launched into space, and now their planet is completely, you know, out in the open. Essentially, like, unprotected again. But yeah, so we did talk about this, Matt, and I mean, we'll transition to it. I'm going to talk about fan reception versus our reception. I think obviously we're going to be a little critical about some of the choices. I know you have kind of like a laundry list, but I think it would be remiss if we don't talk about how other people were feeling about it. We're not going to, like, don't get me wrong, we have our issues, but there are a lot of people that really loved the show. I did reach out on Blue Sky. I was hoping to get more like responses, but I got a response from Upstate-James 8 on Blue Sky.
Shout out to
asking, what did you love about the show? Like, I'm curious to hear like what you loved, and I want to, you know, talk about it in all caps: pirates and loot and lightsabers. He loved the fun adventure of it all.
Pirates and loot. And
yeah, right.
Name of this episode.
We might have to make it the title, yeah. And that it took part in the Star Wars galaxy, but really showed how big the galaxy is by not using the usual planets and characters as a crutch. Also, as an 80s kid, the Goonies and ET vibes really hit all my vibes. I can respect that 100%. I agree that, like, stepping into the Star Wars galaxy but not leaning too much in on some of the stuff we already know is something that we've been asking for. Yeah. So he's absolutely right from that standpoint. And Matt, I do want to ask you this, because I think that there's something that I kind of like realized, and it's probably why it didn't resonate for me, and I wonder if you might feel the same way. But in the grand scheme of things, when I look at the Star Wars movies as a whole, and like
the multiverse,
exactly. Even though it started it all, A New Hope is my least favorite Star Wars movie.
Really?
Because its
scope.
It's
low on my list when we finally get to that episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my least favorite.
Its scope and things is so much smaller compared to what the universe becomes when you add in Empire and Return of the Jedi, and especially the prequels and the sequels, right? If you grew up loving A New Hope, you probably loved this fucking show. Because it hits all of those vibes. But that's not what I personally love about Star Wars. So I'm really happy for James, and that he got to kind of like relive some of those A New Hope vibes. And there's a lot of people who like The Force Awakens, probably for that reason too.
I love The Force Awakens.
Right. And while I do enjoy The Force Awakens, like The Last Jedi happens to be my favorite movie out of that trilogy. So like, there are, you know, I'm sure a lot of people who just really fell in love with what it made them feel a way they probably haven't felt in a really long time. The way I probably feel when I watch Ahsoka, having been such a big fan of Star Wars animation, you know, over the past, 10, 15 years.
Yeah. That makes
so
sense.
It's like, I think all of that kind of like lines up, and I'm really happy for the people who it resonated with. I just think that there are a lot of things from a plot standpoint that could have been tied up a little bit nicer. And I'm also wondering, because we'll talk about this for sure, but I'm wondering how you personally, are you going to reapproach maybe how much you like dig into lines of dialogue when it comes to Star Wars, because I think this is like the 800th time we've been burned.
Yes, 1000%. I'm actually really glad that you asked this question, because I don't even remember if it was on mic or off mic. We talk alike because we're actually friends.
This is true.
But you had mentioned where you were like, you came to grips. I think it might have been on mic last episode we did, where you were saying like, yeah, we're not the target audience for this show. And I think through like Book of Boba Fett or Ahsoka or, you know, Dragon Ball Daima or, you know, Code Geass and their relaunch and everything, I think I lulled myself into a false sense of entitlement that when they bring back these properties that they're automatically for the original audience, because usually they are. Usually, usually the return of a quote unquote kid show is usually meant more for the adults who were kids when the original came out, to get the nostalgia pop, as wrestling fans like to call it. But the way that this show ended, it was the ending that did it for me, with the wham wham, like the Fred Flintstone Wilma scream. I was just like, oh, this was literally meant for children. Like, this was not meant for adults. It was meant for parents who knew of Star Wars to be able to enjoy something with their kid. Or I love that. Yeah, 1000%. Or a way to usher in new kids to like Star Wars. Like this, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the launching point for future Star Wars fans.
I truly hope that it is.
They're going to be surprised.
Like, yeah.
But I was just to go back to your point. Yes, we've been burned about 800 times where, you know, we've taken what we knew Star Wars to be and, like, you know, fan casted the plot into what we thought it was going to be, and totally been wrong. But to shoot ourselves some bail, I feel like the shit that we come up with, specifically with Book of Boba Fett, like, I feel like our shit was better than what we got. I'll say I feel like our shit, or what we thought should have happened for Skeleton Crew, in my opinion, would have been better than what we got. But where I say I want to shoot us a bit of bail, I feel like the straws that we're grasping at comes from valid Star Wars shit. Like, it's like, we're not just like throwing random shit at the wall.
We're connecting dots to things we think could work in the canon.
It's the whole fucking do canon shit from Hawkeye that I always go back to, because it pisses me off. Why the fuck would you put Clint Barton's mentor in a show called Hawkeye and not have him be that person? Like, it's just don't sit shit next to shit that's supposed to go together and tell me that it doesn't go together, because then I feel like you're pissing on me and calling it rain. So I am going to I'm going to try. I'm not going to say that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to possibly just, like, you know, take it one episode at a time and just let shit be as it's going to be. And as you know what it is? For some reason, I get it in my head sometimes, like when we're doing these reviews, that like the show wasn't already filmed. Like, and I'm like projecting like character development choices that I feel like would make sense in the Star Wars universe, not connecting the dots that, oh, they filmed this shit already. So whether I'm right or wrong, it's already been done. So it's like, my opinion of it ain't gonna mean shit. Like, they already filmed the show, like to its completion. So, you know, if I go at it from that headspace, that like, hey, I'm watching this product at a minimum, maybe a year after this was already filmed. So like, maybe these character choices made sense when they filmed this back in 2023. But like, me in the year 2025, end of 2024, 2025, and again, like, just thinking somewhere else. But before I get stuck on this point, again, I do feel like our predictions come from like logical lore places that are connective to how Star Wars has moved in the past. But to circle it all back and bring it back to your point when you said like, yeah, this was meant for kids. Like, I've accepted that now, having watched the finale and seen the choices that they've made. I've accepted that this show was an outlier. It wasn't supposed to necessarily be a connective TV show. It was supposed to stand alone. But like, if you do watch the other stuff, it might enrich the experience for you a bit.
Right.
It didn't really. Like, there really wasn't anything that I needed to know, or there wasn't anything that I already knew prior into Skeleton Crew that made me appreciate the show more, other than the Qui-Gon line. Like, that was something that was like, oh, he said the thing. But outside of that, you could have gone in this could have been your first Star Wars thing, and I feel like that was what they were aiming for. Like, for this to be the first Star Wars thing for some kids, let's hook them, let's bring them in, But yeah, I
think that that's a good way to view it moving forward. And like, I don't want to say we shouldn't be critical, but I think some of what you're saying has merit to it. A lot of people in our generation are doing is that, like, I would say that us specifically, but like definitely a ton of people in our generation have a lot of what they think is media literacy. And I think you and I like legitimately have media literacy to a point where if we're not calling what's coming next, whatever we're predicting ends up being cooler than what they end up writing. Right? Like, and that's kind of a flex, but at the same time, it's a little bit, like you said, like, that's a very entitled thing for me to say. It's also very like pompous and like, you know, I don't necessarily, you know, if we were that good, maybe we would be in the writer's room, and maybe Matt, maybe we should start, maybe we should start making our own content so that we can end up in these writers' rooms. I mean, because obviously we care about this shit, we want it, and you know, we have some pretty good ideas, but at the same time, like, we're letting other creators put their stamp on Star Wars. Like, we got to start kind of like taking it from that perspective. And you said something that's, I think, is going to stick with me through whatever the next show is, right? And that is, you know, these things are planned out. They've been done. If it's animation, that shit was written 4 years ago. Yeah. If it's live action, that shit happened. That shit was filmed
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. Like it is what it is. And those creators made those choices, and hopefully we see them connect and move on to different places. There are certain things like even though all that stuff is being said, and like, you know, I'm sure that they didn't sit down and watch these and be like, you know what? I think that's why Marvel maybe had such good sustainability, because they built rewrites.
Yeah, Kevin Feige is a watcher. Model. He watches the fan base and like takes a lot and be like, oh yeah, that was the idea the whole time.
But at the same time, it's like when they do their first takes of things and they already plan for reshoots. When they watch the product, they can go back through and be like, you know what, this isn't working. This choice will be better for the story.
Does Star Wars,
and that's what they do.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on you. I know, like literally, Captain America, you know, New World Order or Brave New World, depending on the day of the week, what the title is.
I know Brave New World officially now.
Yeah, I know they went through reshoot and rewrite hell, like post-production hell. Does Lucasfilms do test audience screenings for TV shows?
I don't know if they're doing it with room for reshoots.
Okay.
And I think that's something that, if I were Lucasfilm, I would look to Kevin Feige, who's also a huge Star Wars fan, ask them what that production process looks like and see if it works for them and their budget. Because if you're going to be giving us less stories, the quality of stories I'm expecting to go up.
Yeah.
So we're going to need to be satiated. We're going to need to want to know this. And also, this is something that, like, don't get me wrong, I do think it's a good thing that Dave has more control from like an overarching like story view. Like, that's kind of like what his role is. He, having worked in animation and across, and you know, it's not just Star Wars, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's like maybe one quote unquote filler episode in that entire show. And Dave tells an overarching plot where characters who showed up in book 1 and book 2 play meaningful roles in book 3, even though they're only in one episode prior. Right? Like, he's really good at like pulling casts of characters together. He does this in Rebels. The finale of Rebels pulls in the, you know, clone troopers that they see in season 2, like Gregor and Wolf, and then, you know, Hondo even shows up to help. Also, rest in peace, Hondo Watch, because I don't think we're ever getting him in live action at this point. But like, he knows what he's doing, and I think that's why, like, ultimately when we get to the end, right, when we get to whatever the final movie of this thing is, all of these people who were part of this timeline, I think will have even if it's just a little bit of screen time, it will be meaningful screen time. And so I'm not super concerned about that. But the shows and the movies that are happening in the meantime, like, they have to mean something if you're going to reduce the amount that are coming out. Otherwise, fans are going to stop paying attention.
No, I agree with that completely. And just kind of we'll move on to like our other critiques, like more specific ones. But just to go back to just in theme with what we're just talking about right now, it's just like, so I look at, you know, we're talking about the show's been filmed. It was pre-planned. This is what it happens. Like, whether Lucas does test screenings prior to, or if they don't, maybe they should. I look at things like the Captain Renard storyline. He legit was pointless in this story. Like, outside of the fact that his ship was the vehicle to get them off the planet to then bring them back to the planet, and, you know, all that. And like, that's how they met Jod. Like, what was the point in covering his face? Like, what was the point in like they must smoked us with Renard? And I think it started with Book of Boba Fett. I'm sick of them putting stock into characters for several episodes to just have it be face value. Like, that shit is starting to really like frustrate me. Like, it happened with Smoke. I can't remember everybody's character's name off Book of Boba Fett. It's been such a long time. But there were several characters that, like, you know, they made you feel like had something to do, or like were endgame, and they just were like characters. They were plot devices. And like Captain Renard, like this whole, literally the show was built on the literal back of his ship and like his adventure to Ad Atten and him scrubbing Smee's memories and cutting off the map. And we get the why, and like, it makes logical sense. He's a pirate. He found a place to make infinite money. So of course he wouldn't want people following behind him. But it's just like, they could have made the specter of Captain Renard way less important and still told the same story. Like,
yeah, I agree.
And that
I hear what you're saying, because
you're doing that a lot, and it's bugging me. Like,
yeah, because like you're putting stock into. I mean, you're right. Like, why not show his face if you're not gonna like pay it off? And I think that like,
why have Neo mention? I can't see his face. It's so fuzzy. Like, why put that in someone's brain? Like, why put that earworm in my ear that there's going to be like a payoff if it was literally just a throwaway line.
Let me. I'm not going to explain your frustration away.
No, I got you.
You're allowed to be frustrated, right? I want you to feel what you feel. I am going to put this solely on the Netflix streaming, Disney streaming culture of shoehorning random lines into the previously on things just to make you pay attention to them. You're putting stock in every line now because of the way they started to condition you into how you're viewing these stories now.
I think it's more than that. I 1000% agree with you when they do the flashback sequence to remind you of a dialogue that happened and like insult your intelligence as a TV watcher. Even though I know as a society we have like microwave points of focus now. It's instant popcorn.
That's true. Yeah,
like nothing lives with us anymore. We watch it and then we're done with it and we move on. But again, speaking to like the hardcore Star Wars fans who have built-in real life experience with like mysterious characters and like
reveals and twists
and origin stories. Like, don't put shit next to something where it's supposed to fit and tell me that it doesn't fit. Like that is like, that's when I feel like you're insulting my intelligence. And like, and where I will shoot them bail and where I say it is like a nice combination of like me putting my expectations on somebody else's creative vision is in that moment of them looking at a recording of Captain Renard, Neo as an 8-year-old elephant doesn't see the face. It would make sense for him to just be like, oh, I can't see his face, like as like a logical moment in that scene. But it's a Star Wars show. You know what a character mentioning not being able to see someone's face, you know what that's going to do to your fan base. They're going to start being like, that's significant that you don't get to see his face. I wonder why they would choose not to show the face. Like, you're creating speculation, and whether that's just a tool to make sure that your viewership continues on, like, that's shrewd business, but that's super shitty to your hardcore fans. Like, don't plant seeds that you had no intention of watering.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting, because I almost feel like that's a perception thing, right? Like, because maybe in reality that's not their intention, but I don't blame you for feeling that way, if that makes sense. I get caught in that trap all the time, the time. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like I said, we've been burned 800 times, and it's like, I think it's because we are very imaginative people, and we let it take us places. I think we also maybe sometimes give the creators a little too much credit
I
in
agree.
terms of like, oh, they're really setting up something big. They ain't setting up shit.
Look, bro, and unfortunately, like, that's what I feel like I'm having to, like, come to grips with, that this new, I don't want to say this new Star Wars, because that sounds like, oh, the Disney Star Wars. It's Star Wars. I still love it, but like, this newer presentation, or this newer way of execution, I feel like so much of it is face value, but because Star Wars has always been a layered thing, I'm so used to the layers. So they're like, when they're giving me a peeled onion, I'm like, ooh, where are the layers at? I'm just like,
yeah. No, you're right, and you're trying to peel it away, and I have an example actually for this, and I think this lines up, but there has always been an element of plot armor in Star Wars, big time, right? Like, George wouldn't let them kill Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. He's like, no, everyone's got to, like, walk out alive. But in episode 7 of Skeleton Crew, Jod shoots a Wolfman in the face and, like, kills other people without mercy. And then we're kind of supposed to just expect that he wouldn't shoot Wim's dad or Fern's mom without a moment's notice. And it's like, dude, I get it. I truly get it. But you set up for this character to be brutal in a moment, and then, I don't want to kill people. And it's like, yeah, but that's not what you're doing, right?
No,
like, you're saying that, but it's not what you're doing. And it's like
perfect example.
I just kind of wish that they would spend a little more time showing some conflict in a character like Jod to make me be like, okay, yeah, he just shot that guy in the face, but there's no way he's going to hurt Wim, Fern, their parents, or whatever, or put a narrative device in that makes it so Jod can't kill them.
The gun jams, like, let them try and it doesn't go off or some shit.
Or Fern's mom is necessary because she's the only one who knows how the mint works. You know what I mean? Like, put in stuff like that. That is where I think, from like a narrative standpoint, when we watch Star Wars as kids, there's obviously a lot of political stuff that you and I understand way better now that we're older.
Yep.
But it's like, when you strip that stuff away from Star Wars, it makes it a little too convenient. You know what I mean? So we're looking for those nuances, because as adults, we know that it's there. And we're also, to use your phrase, as we've gotten older, we've peeled back the onion on what these stories mean to us, because it's so much more than epic lightsaber battles. That's what drew us in. But now, like, there's a whole spectacle
I care
and
about
a deeper
the story.
a deeper world that we have been, we're attached to. There's a reason we keep coming back for more, right? Like, there's a reason there's a whole fucking podcast
Punish
right
me.
now. Yeah, exactly. I want to be heard again. Talk to me about Bad Batch season 2, episode like 14. I just want to be heard again.
I think that's a perfect example, because it's like, and we talked about this. We were just like, when pre the reveal, unreveal, twist, untwist that Jod was the big bad for this show, we were saying, like, they're giving him too much of a reluctant mentor vibe, or they hadn't given him enough of an emotional connection yet to make that betrayal hurt before the episode that they gave it to us. So then, to your point, and again, I guess, like, the face value, the logic of it all, it makes sense. But, like, in a Star Wars vacuum, it baffles me, because it's like, they didn't have that emotional connection until whatever episode that was, episode 5, when him and Wim had the story when he was like, control your own destiny, like perception is your reality type situation. We didn't have that emotional connection. We were saying like, oh, he's probably going to be the bad guy because there's nothing tying him to these kids. They could have just left it like that. But no, you wanted us to give an emotional connection so the betrayal hurts more. That's fine. But then, like you said, they take it a step further to show us that he gives no fucks, shooting Wolfie in the face, threatening Fern, taking them hostage and everything, just to then have him hesitate again. So it's just like you don't give us the redeeming characteristic until episode 5 to make it hurt, and then you try to give it back to him in the finale after you just showed that he is a vicious scallywag, scruffy looking nerf herder. It makes no sense to me,
right? Like, and like, listen, I get it. Like, we're not the writers on the show, but like, right. I guess a really easy way to fix that would have been him getting really excited that the kids were solving the puzzles to get into Renaud's lair, right? Yeah. It's just as simple as that, and it's like, I think Jod is a very complex character, and I'm glad that we have him, and I'm excited to see where his story goes, but I'm never going to, personally, I don't really feel the need to go back and watch Skeleton Crew because I already feel like they're going to explain more of Jod's backstory in something else.
Yeah, 1000%. You don't bring up the fact that he was found by a Jedi and started to get trained, and then she got Order 66. If we don't get another Order 66 flashback.
Yeah, apparently one was filmed and they cut it, which is fine. I don't really need to see it again.
I'm sure they'll repurpose it.
yeah, right. It'll come up somewhere. I do like the wrinkle that it was like, I had nothing and I had, scrounging to survive, and so was she, and she saw potential in me, and so it's really telling the tale of, oh, this is post Order 66. This Jedi has been on the run.
Yeah.
And Jod's on the run, and they have this mutual connection, and she's, training him. I think it's a really kind of fun cautionary tale in terms of it. The way I looked at it was like, this is what happens if Ezra Bridger and Cal Kestis don't find Seer Junda and Kanan Jarrus to pull them into something bigger than themselves. And then you get a character like Jod, and it's a really interesting take on what it meant to be trained as a Jedi in between, Revenge of the Sith and Empire Strikes or A New Hope.
At this point, if we don't get some type of like, I don't even need it to be a prequel series. It could be an anthology series where like happens at different. Matter of fact, as I'm saying it out loud, I think I'd prefer it to be a series that like happens at different timelines in the start. Like if they don't do a show about the path, it's such a missed opportunity. Like,
I agree. There's a lot of stories there.
Yeah, there's so many stories there that you can create just from like users speculating on like who are the Jedi that took the path, what interactions, who are some people that crossed on the path that you might have not ever thought had any type of interaction. Like, but they've tied so much through that with these shows, with Mando, with Obi-Wan. Like they keep dancing around it. Like you don't introduce O'Shea Jackson Jr. as one of the people who helps work on the path and get people to safety if he's not meant to be like and I know like he's probably going to be, or not probably will be, like a running player like in the Filoni verse in the movies, presumably, one would assume. But yeah, like I think it'd be so fire.
See, and while I not to poo-poo on your point, but like your timeline's fucked up. O'Shea Jackson is like, you have to keep in mind Kenobi's 10 years before.
He was in Kenobi.
Yeah.
Right.
Not to say that he can't factor into more stories. Yeah, put some gray in there. Like that would be really cool if he ended up being like a big part of the rebellion and stuff like that. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you could have a series where it would kind of be like Tales of the Jedi or Tales of the Empire. Doesn't have to be like an animated show, but maybe it could be like a 10-episode series, and like the time, like when this particular person on their path journey is happening, like the timeline could be ambiguous. Like it could be a flashback episode, it could be a flash forward episode, it could be like a happening in the current canon timeline. Like because the path has been like helping people escape the Empire for so long, you could legit have like a episode with O'Shea
it could
Jackson.
span
Yeah,
20,
it could
25 years. Like, yeah,
exactly.
like there's
like it could be like an anthology series. Like it doesn't have to be like a linear TV show. You can have like 3
that would
episodes.
actually, you could have O'Shea be the lead at different points throughout the timeline.
Yeah, he could be the Nexus being through that. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
but
he's the connective tissue. You learn about his character Roken as you go through things.
Yeah,
but you're seeing how he interacts with, like, maybe the first episode is him losing his family and starting the path.
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
Because that's right.
That'd be fine.
And then
part of starting it. Be lit.
You know what I mean? Like maybe we get an episode where Quinlan is involved because in Kenobi they talk about how Quinlan helps. Yeah.
We could get a live action Aside Ventress because
who wouldn't love that?
They fucking
come get us. We're writing right now. But anyways,
he could cross paths with Lando. Like obviously he'd be older, but they could use Donald Glover as Lando to like keep it like not that big of an age gap because obviously he wouldn't be alive when Billy D was Lando.
Right. But like you're technically like, what if, could be a fun episode where like Lando's helping him smuggle people, not realizing that they're Jedi.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like I'm saying, like they could do a whole series with just that. And I feel like it'd be such a missed opportunity not to do it. Just call it the path.
Let's hope that they're, I know, let's hope that they're thinking of something.
The path, a Star Wars story. Like it's cake.
So I guess some closing notes here, unless you have other things you want to talk about this show specifically.
Fuck the fucking administrator being a droid.
I knew you were gonna hate that. Hated
it. You know what it is? I hated it, but I hate even more how unimportant it was that was a droid. Like, at least if you're going to make it be a droid in this secret 9 sister planet system that's off the reservation to hide it from the scourge of the world, at least have it being a droid be have oomph behind it. Like, why is it a droid? Who's programming the droid? Like, the droid. Because I thought for a hot second, I just knew the droid was going to be like a evil dictator, like iRobot type shit. I just knew that was about that. And I wouldn't have been happy with that, but I was just like, not the evil dictator droid storyline. That's where I thought they were going.
I thought they might pull an Oz for a second, or like where it's like someone controlling it.
I as soon as I saw that damn droid, the Eagle Eye, the Shia LaBeouf movie, like the smart computer that was trying to take over the world. I just thought it was going to be that situation, which I wouldn't have been happy about. But I'm like, so we've been, and again, that's another thing. Like, you're sitting something next to something and telling me that it shouldn't go together. Like, you have this looming thing about who's in charge. Like, why haven't we seen this person? Why is this person behind closed doors and only Fern's mom has access to this person? That fucking grandfather line was a throwaway fucking line. Why put that in there?
But like Matt, what if those lines of dialogues are just to normalize what you're viewing?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm starting to accept that a lot of this shit is just face value. Like it is just a mother telling her child that her grandfather would be proud of her. But again, because Star Wars is so long of a series that has been just drenched in, layers and just depth, like it makes it seem like it's something more. Like, and I guess, and again, this is my assumption. It's hard for me to accept that there's not someone on the writing team who also grew up a Star Wars fan, who also doesn't at least one point in this creative process think like, fans might take this the wrong way. Like, there's you can't convince me that there's not someone on that team that's going to say like, we probably shouldn't put so much gravitas and mystery behind this smoke character and have it just be nobody, because it might piss off the fan base.
Or Matt, they might think that the reveal of it being a droid is a good reveal.
Then that person, right?
Listen,
for me, that person needs to be replaced by us. It's like, what? Like, who thought that? And again, I won't yuck people's yum. To quote your lovely significant other.
She is my better half for a reason. Yeah,
I won't yuck anyone's yum, but like, I don't know anyone who's saying like, "Ooh, what a reveal! It was a droid." Like, I don't know anyone.
Yeah, no one is saying that, and like a lot of the reception, and I know that that's kind of what this discussion is like a lot of the reception I'm seeing is just everyone being like, "That was so fun," and I'm like, I'm really glad they had fun with it. Like fun. Honestly, that makes me happy. I didn't connect with it like they did, but you know, the same can be said about a few other Star Wars stories. Like some people didn't like Solo very much. I don't even really like Han Solo the character, but I love that movie for some reason. For some reason, that movie invokes the adventurous spirit.
Because of Woody Harrelson, that's why.
It might be. I do love Woody Harrelson. For some reason, that movie like invokes that adventurous spirit in me. It makes me feel something. This made other people feel something, and I'm happy for you. And I really, truly am glad. And I hope that the next Star Wars story we both love just as much. But if you happen to, I think there's certain things in this, you know. Not everything's going to be for me, and this is always going to be someone's first Star Wars. That's something that I totally stole from the Force Center podcast, which if you don't listen to them, they always find a good way to talk about things that they love and don't like in such a respectful way. And you know, hopefully we do that here, just with a little more kind of like not safe for work humor.
Panache.
But at the same time, it's just the things I'm always going to remember about the show is, wow, the kids did a really good job performing.
Fantastic actors.
And wow, I'm a little underwhelmed by the story. Yeah, like that's just going to be my thing. Like I don't feel like I'm going to need to go back and watch this, but I will say this, those kids, this is an excellent start to their career. I know you've been gushing over Fern's actor like the whole time. She's been excellent. I think all of them have been awesome.
That little girl can cry at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, man, crazy, crazy talented.
The actress, I don't know if actress is still like an unused term. Like it's such a weird thing. Like it's there and then it's not there, and they use it and then we don't use it.
If you say performer, there's only you're right. That's a gender neutral term, I think.
Right. So the performer who played KB, she grew on me so much throughout the show, and especially wrapping my head around the fact that, you know, a lot of her scenes she's deadpan because you can't see her eyes. So the fact that she's able to still like emote without you seeing like the inflection in her eyes, and she can like communicate just, you know, like you like even when she's like in her, you know, Star Trek mode and she's like not really emoting, you could still feel like what she's feeling. And there's something to be said about a child actor pulling that off, like being able to say like, hey, like, you know, be frustrated in the scene, but you know, like you're half a cyborg, so you're not the most emotional person, figure it out. And like she fucked that shit up. Like she did she did the thing. And I just wanted to piggyback off your point just in regards to, you know, like hopefully we're able to communicate like our satisfaction and sometimes non-satisfaction in a respectful way. I enjoyed this episode. I did not like it as the finale. Like the episode was, like I said, it's fun. The comment that you read on Blue Sky, I would say to a T, outside of the fact that I'm a 90s kid, not an 80s kid, is exactly how I feel about this show. Like it's pirates, it's Star Wars, it's Goonie shit, which is like literally check off all my boxes.
You were so excited for this show coming into it. Like,
yeah, 1000%.
I was the one who was like stupid skeptical. And don't get me wrong, like I think I kind of picked up early on. It just wasn't for me, but continue.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, for sure. And again, like I don't want my jovialness from like how I felt about the show to like be tarnished by, you know, how I feel about the finale. I enjoyed this show thoroughly, like from start to finish. I just feel that the finale feels separate from episodes 1 through 7. Like it feels like they took a sharp pivot to me. And that's like just my specific from what I would have thought based off some like lines of dialogue or character choices that were made earlier in the show. I thought certain things that seemed more important would have been the through line through the finale that were just like vehicles to get you to the finale, which, you know, like to each their own. So again, I won't poo-poo the show because I enjoyed it a lot. I liked it a lot actually. It's just, yeah, like I said, the last episode as an episode, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I had a lot of fun. The pirates invading the cul-de-sac, I enjoyed all that. The speeder bike chases, the part where really random. It wasn't like the most action packed scene, but when the power went out and Wim realized that he could like tell his dad like what's actually going on. I love that scene when he was trying to tell his dad what was going on at the dinner table and his dad wasn't catching it. Loved that.
Oh wait, I really should have committed these like kids' names, but the actor who played Wim, when he's like playing off like the whole like he's playing with his toys to trick the droid. I was like, that was it was delivered so well. Like you can tell that he's like obviously like faking, but like the delivery of the line was like actually comedic. Like definitely like made me crack a smile both times I watched it.
1000%. Neo getting his big moment where he got to shoot the big cannon, like that was fun and everything. Like that was all really good. I will say, and this is just me being like extremely nitpicky. I feel like the percentage of success for them to be able to have released that break were extremely lower than what the fact that they actually like pulled it off. I was like, I don't think that really would have worked. Like, you're that close to the finish line, you got to go all the way back to try to unlock that damn latch shit and not get caught and killed. I don't know if that would have really happened with these untrained desk workers. Like, I don't know if that really would have took place, but you know, it's a show. Like, so
yeah.
All the characters that I liked all did things that I thoroughly enjoyed. Like I said, and what this show did really well, and I feel like we talked about this before, is they found a great way to really make this an ensemble cast show. Like, there isn't any one kid that like outshines the other, unless you just have an affinity for one of the kids, which, like, it's a TV show. All of us gravitate towards somebody, you know. It's just like we like because we see some of ourselves in them or something that we want to be that they are. But it's like they really let each of these kids like get their shit off. Like it felt like there were 4 leads. Like, it didn't feel like any
100%. I could not agree more with you. I think they each have episodes where they shine, but they also, you know, the way they interact with each other in the episodes that's maybe not their quote unquote episode. You know, you still feel like they're. I think we said it in the last episode of Annie, Are You Okay? Like, they've done such a good job of character development, and it might be easier because they're kids, but like you could really tell they were growing as the story went along, and it was great to see. All right, so now that we've kind of discussed the finale, I do have a few rumor mill things that we might want to cover off on really quick, because news dropped this week. This one has a little more oomph behind it than the other one, but Matthew, tell me how you feel about the potential of Ryan Gosling being cast in Sean Levy's Star Wars movie.
You know, shout outs to Cospalooza Part 3. I bought the Kenergy, so I am I forget what his fans are called. It's something to do with his last name. But yeah, I fuck with
You're
Ryan.
Goo Goo for Gosling.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good word for it. But yeah, I love Ryan Gosling, and it's you know, it's the thing that I always find interesting about him. It's like when he gets announced for roles, my first initial reaction is like, huh. I wouldn't have thought that he would have worked here, but then he works there. And like he does, and he does it in every role he gets. So you're just like, huh, don't know if I would have like said, oh, Ryan Gosling would be great for a Star Wars thing. But then it's like, but then once he gets in it, it's just like natural, like duck to water, fish to water. I mean, ducks swim too.
Did one of us cast him in our? First off, listen to our older episodes where we recast the. What we did the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, and the prequel trilogy.
I feel like our recastings were quite brilliant.
And we did different eras of entertainment. So, like, we did. What did we do for the original trilogy? Did we do modern day actors?
Yeah, I know we did. I can't remember which one where, but we did like actors that were big in the 90s, actors that were big in like the early 2000s. Yeah, I can't remember who went where.
Yeah, but we did some mismatching, and I think one of us cast Ryan Gosling as Han Solo.
That sounds wildly accurate.
Yeah, so I think there's a whole myriad of archetypes that he could play just based off of his acting career. But he brings the Kenergy, if you will, obviously, like, but like in a sense that like he can be very comedic or very serious. It really totally depends on the character. I have no qualms with how they plan to use him. I just have a feeling if Sean Levy's involved, coming off the success of Deadpool 3, and you're getting Ryan Gosling in a movie, I'm expecting to have a fun time and hopefully laugh quite a bit as well. I'm not saying that Star Wars is inherently comedic, but like there are funny things that happen. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
If whatever role he plays is a any type of snarky type of character, we're 1000% getting a Dank Ferrick.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! We love our Dank Ferricks here.
1000%.
More Star Wars curse words. I want more Star Wars curse words.
Absolutely. I do like Slimo. Didn't Slimo come back?
Slimo is back. Yeah.
Again, we're make Slimo great again.
Jesus Christ.
Wizard is starting to make a strong
Wizard can come back.
Star Wars.
Wizard can come back. It's so totally Wizard that you mentioned that. All right, so this part of the rumor mill, this one feels way more clickbaity. Haven't seen any of the like actual big pundits talk about this. There's some real heat behind that Ryan Gosling one. Like I think like even the Hollywood Reporter may have picked up on that one by now. But this one is not quite as many reputable sources reporting this, but there's a lot of rumors around Natalie Portman and Ewan returning for Clone Wars flashbacks in Ahsoka season 2. And that to me is like, this is such good clickbait material. Like, but at the same time, and then, let me just tell you how I feel about it. And you can kind of just let me know if you agree or disagree. I think doing more Clone Wars flashbacks in Ahsoka is fine, as long as they also, you know how sometimes narratives will do the thing where it's like the flashbacks really connect to the current timeline, and they're like concurrently.
You need to see the flashback for the current shit that happens to make sense, like a force ability that no one knew this person had, so they show you the flashback of when they learned it.
right, or just how it's connecting, or maybe like Ahsoka having to like relearn or reflect on those experiences, or maybe like Sabine is going through Ahsoka's memories and seeing it play out, or something like that. Whatever, however you're doing it, I just need it to make sense. So if you're gonna do that, I'm all for it. Obviously, I want to see
like Kill Bill Volume 2 with the 3-inch punch. They did a whole section of how she learned that punch to get out of the fucking casket. So like shit like that. But
so like I'm all for these characters coming back. Obviously, who doesn't want to see you and don like the Obi-Wan Clone Wars gear? Like you're crazy if you don't. But I want it to also make sense. Don't just fucking shove it in there and do nothing with it.
I mean, if we're talking about the surface level Star Wars that we be getting, they might just give it to us just to give it to us.
We can still hope and dream for more. I still believe that there is deeper storytelling available to us in this universe.
Hope will remain new. I will not let it turn into old hope. It will stay as a new hope.
I see what you did there. I think you just awakened the Force in me a little bit.
Hopefully it's not our last Jedi.
Nope. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that it makes me rise 6 inches of Skywalker. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
A modest amount. Not like a big time. You know? I'm white. I'm white.
I mean, look, hey, brother, don't let that color disparage you, bro. Like we all got a little bit of a Phantom Menace inside of us, you know.
Shit. Okay, all right, I see what you're doing. You know, when they are dealing with us, it is like a real Attack of the Clones. You know, like you're just sometimes we're just like in the same wavelength a little too much.
Hey, but we have to be modest with it because we don't want the Empire to strike back. You know,
no. We can't be doing that. That sounds like a real Revenge of the Sith to me, and I'm just not prepared to handle that level of striking back. You know,
I think we got them all.
Return of the Jedi.
Solo Star Wars story.
And that is some real talk with Rogue One.
Hell yeah. I don't know a better way. Was there any more rumors? I don't know a better way to end it.
No, that was it. Thank you for tuning in to Annie, Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast. You can follow me over on Blue Sky at Mikey the Illest. I am there just kind of, shooting our shit. We're trying to pop off as best we can. But we also have another podcast where Matt and our good friend Travis talk about all things anime related, specifically Dragon Ball, covering Dragon Ball Daima right now. That is Dragon Ball for Life. You can follow them on our socials at db4l_pod on Instagram. Yep. And we don't really use Twitter anymore, but hey, go for it. We're also on YouTube for both podcasts. So if you'd like to listen to us there or have friends who specifically listen on YouTube, please point them in that direction.
Got you covered, man. We're on all streaming platforms, so we are.
It's
extremely
true.
Easy to find.
And with you can also follow us on And Are You Okay Pod on Instagram. I don't know. That is the letters A and I. Are You Okay Pod on Instagram. Wow. But yeah, Matt, why don't you close this bad boy out for us?
In what possibly could be my naivete, but in response to your, RIP to hashtag Hondo Watch, still holding out hope that he'll show up. It could be Hondo, it could be Rajon Rondo, it could be your mom. No.
You could be practicing taekwondo.
Oh, Harry Potter could have lost his wando.
My favorite Muppet might be Gonzo.
Or it could be Ray. Life can be a beach. But you guessed it. As long as there is no sand and or Tusken Raiders who don't wipe their feet off when they walk through your house, so they track sand, and he's gonna be okay.
He's gonna be okay. May the force be with you, man.
And with you. Later, nerds.
Deuces.